Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in for the MotorMotion E-Series Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. My name is George, also known as Crazy Good Kung Fu, and I will be your host tonight in the commentary box for round 2 at a very sunny afternoon in Italy for one of the most legendary tracks on the calendar. It is none other than Monza. It's probably one of my favorite tracks of all time. And I know for a fact that people out there absolutely love this place, especially the Tifosi. Unfortunately for them, no Ferraris on the track today, but we will be kicking this off shortly with a whole bunch of information for everyone. So buckle in, get yourself ready for an action-packed evening with the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. And before we get started, a message from our sponsors.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
Of course, Player1 Sim Gear, created by sim enthusiasts for sim enthusiasts. They're Melbourne-based and 100% Australia-owned and created. And when they launched Player1, they set out to create an online destination for racers and flight simmers, and all other kinds of simmers as well, to shop for all the best hardware brands at the best prices. They do love feedback, so when you check out their site, or if they're out of stock of any items, do let them know. They will respond to you in kind. At Player1, they're passionate about giving back and supporting the local communities that make this hobby so rewarding for us all. And so they've happily chipped in to help provide a prize for each division driver champion at the end of the season. So if you're keen, go and check them out at www.p1simgear.com.au, proudly sponsoring the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. And to start us off, folks, today we're going to be looking immediately at the weather and giving you some information on the teams, where we ended up from last week in round 1 at the Nürburgring, and giving you a little bit of information, of course, on the driver standings and the points acquired by the teams. So jumping straight over to the weather board, it's a sunny afternoon at Monza. A light wind will be in effect. We'll see exactly what the track conditions are like when we get into qualifying and the race. A nice little bit of humidity as well. So as preset chosen, S03, dry, cloudy, and pleasant. Now we will talk about what tires the racers are allowed to use and which ones are mandatory shortly. But as you can see on the screen, we do have a mandatory tire today of the racing softs. So all the GT3 participants today will need to run those. Otherwise, they will get quite a large penalty and possibly a disqualification post-race when the stewards find out about their unfortunate mistake. Moving right on, we'll talk about the teams. And the board we've got up right now is the RCA levels. And the RCAs are an important bit of information. The RCA is essentially a race license. And these guys in the teams are given a license 1 at the beginning of each season. If you do not participate or do not qualify, or any large accumulation of demerits during the races by your drivers can cause you to lose an RCA, and that will cause you to unable to be continue in the season. But we do have from South Australia, WTC-Racing, World Touring Car Racing. They're currently in the lead at the moment. And I'll bring up the points as well so we can talk through the points at the same time. So currently in the lead, WTCR, 54 points at the moment. Now these points are across both Group A and Group B. And we are going to be commentating tonight on the Group B races. That's the Silver and the Bronze Championship. Up next, it's Scarborough Motorsport from New South Wales, and they are currently on 45 points, a strong finish in the Group B category from their drivers. Black Rose Racing in the Mercedes AMG, 43 points from South Australia. Did well last time, and a strong finish by them to get 3rd place, especially by the Group A drivers. NED Racing next up from Queensland, Team on 36 points currently. Our silver and bronze drivers, Monica and Karma, did extremely well in the previous race. They'll be looking to get a much better result this time round, though. Shared for 4th technically, but in 5th at the moment, Diffusion Race Engineering, a New Zealand-based team. The silver driver, Aidan Sampson, and bronze driver, Richard Robinson, doing very well and having an extremely good result in the Group B category last time out. From Gridline Racing, from Tasmania, on 35 points, so very close between those 3 teams. We do have Jeff Bruin and Wade Rushton on board, in fact, with, on the actual screen that I'm watching at the moment, on board with Jeff. And last but not least, the 7th team, Strike Race Tech. Not the start that they would have want, with a couple of unfortunate no-shows and essentially some DNFs in the previous round. 11 points for them at the moment from Queensland. They'll be hoping to do significantly better this time around. So just going through the teams once more, Scarborough Motorsport in the Porsche 911 RSR. Team owner is Dylan Scarborough, sponsored by JB Hi-Fi and Newlon. Black Rose Racing in the Mercedes AMG. Team owner is James Lee. Sponsors are Inky and Chill Out. World Touring Championship Racing, our team championship leaders at the moment. The team owner is Wade Von Duve. Sponsors are Goodyear and Mobil 1. NED Racing in the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Its team owner is Joel Austin, fellow commentator of mine. Sponsors are Ned Whiskey and Penrite. And then we've got Diffusion Race Engineering from New Zealand in the BMW M6. They are sponsored by Spotify and Fuchs, and the team owner is Aidan Sampson. Gridline Racing, BMW M6, a popular car on the grid, sponsored by Valvoline and Bosch. Team owner is Scott Taylor, a well-known name in the GT7 community. Strike Racetech in the Mercedes AMG, sponsored by Strike and Recaro. The team owner, Shane Attard. We do have both a Pro-Am and an Elite privateer as well. We'll be talking mainly about our Pro-Am privateer, who did very well last time, Chops 1983, Sean Parker, driving on his own, mixing things up in the grid. He had a fantastic result last time out. So let's bring up the board here for the silver and the bronze champions. And we, as you can see, we will go through all the Pro-Am and Am class. So the Pro-Am is the silver championship. The Am class is the bronze championship. So if you hear me mixing up those terms, then you know exactly what I mean by that. And bringing up the previous race results as well as the standings. So last time out at the Nürburgring, 60 minutes, we did have the winner, Dean van der Zandt, for WTC-Racing, also known as IMAT. In second place, it was Matthew Johnson, an incredibly good drive from him. Purely Black Friday for Scarborough Motorsport. So Dean is on 22 points for the win. Matthew is on 15 points. Second in the overall standings for the silver championship class. Sean Parker, our privateer, bagging himself 10 points overall. Matt Kutcher on 8 points in 4th place for Black Rose Racing. Aidan Sampson, also known as Hellblazer for Diffusion Race Engineering, bagging himself 6 points. Monica Camilleri, who you can see at the top of the screen there, Super VT 2000. She had a good drive last time out for NED Racing, hoping obviously to get a better result this time round. And in 8th place we had with 2 points, Jeff Bruin for Gridline Racing, also known as Squirrel. He'll be the race host today as well. So a big thank you to him. A DNF for Ricky Rick last time, Mad Rick. Strike Race Tech, not bagging a single point, unfortunately, for his team. Very unfortunate for him. So the actual 6th place finisher was Richard Robinson, who's leading our bronze category at the moment, our AM class for Diffusion Race Engineering, bagging himself 22 points. So essentially a race victory for him. And he did extremely well to get that position, finishing ahead of 3 silver class drivers. In 9th place finish at the Nürburgring was Chris White for WTCR, bagging himself 15 points overall in the bronze category. Wade Rushton, Gridline Racing, known as Rushfire, 12 points for him. Karma Foster, she did very well in that race as well, bagging herself 8 points in the AM class for NED Racing. Dylan Scarborough, the team owner of Scarborough Motorsport, 6 points for him. And then Troy Britnell for Black Rose Racing, bagging himself 4 points. And last but not least, Tim Pears for Strike Race Tech, who unfortunately did not get any points this time round. So overall, folks, the standings are this. In first place in the Silver Championship, it is Dean van der Zand on 22 points, followed closely by Matthew Joinson on 15 points for Scarborough Motorsport. Third place was Sean Parker in the silver category, our privateer with 10 points. Fourth place overall, Matt Kutcher so far with Black Rose Racing, 8 points for him. Aidan Sampson in 5th place in the championship for Silver Championship on 6 points for Diffusion Race Engineering. Monica Camilleri, 4 points for NED Racing in 6th place. 7th place is Jeff Bruin for Gridline Racing, also known as Squirrel, on 2 points. And last but not least, in the Silver Championship category, it is Ricky Rick. In first place for the bronze category, it's Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering, bagging himself 22 points, a very good drive from him. In second place, Chris White for WTCR, 15 points. Third place is Wade Rushton, 12 points for him. Karma Foster in 4th place for NED Racing, 8 points. 5th place is Dylan Scarborough, Scarborough Motorsport, 6 points for him. In 6th place in the bronze championship, it is Troy Britnell with 4 points for Black Rose Racing. And lastly, a DNF for Tim Pears, Strike Race Tech. So we will talk about the track momentarily as we jump back on board with the cars who are out on the track getting their practice done. 1 minute until we start qualifying. So not long to go, everyone. Stay tuned. We will be with you very soon with some proper good racing. Very much looking forward to seeing what is going to happen during this race. Now, of course, we are at Monza. 11 turns around here at this legendary track. 5.793 kilometers. We are at the afternoon point in this race in Italy, of course. The full name, if you didn't know, is the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. You'll have to forgive my Italian. It is pretty average, to say the least. 3 sectors here today, 11 corners. So starting off with a long pit straight, nearly a kilometer and a bit, actually, 1.2 kilometers for that first pit straight, down into the most dangerous part of the course, the heavy braking zone, which is essentially a death chicane in some ways. Very heavy braking zone into that, and you can ride the curbs a little bit, but be careful, you will unsettle the car as you get out, and then onto turn 3. Turn 3 being Curva Grande, a lovely sweeping right-hander. And that will take you down towards the Della Roggia chicane, a very famous corner. Second chicane in this course, another heavy braking zone, some more curbs to ride. Once again, very tricky. You got to make sure that you enter that corner very carefully in some ways. A good overtaking zone though, as you can go run very wide on the outside around Curva Grande into the Della Roggia chicane. You can already see on track a bunch of the bollards already being put on track, luckily slightly out of the racing line, as we follow Chops, who's actually on board with us at the moment, going through Lesmo 1 and 2. That's turn 6 and 7. That's where sector 2 starts. Down the first of the 2 back straight, one of my favorite sections of this track, covered up by some beautiful trees, and through the bridge they go into Ascari, one of the most famous corners at this track, probably one of the most fun corners for these guys to go through, but it can be very tricky with some small extra curbs to run over, and you don't want to run wide as well. It will compromise you significantly on the second back straight going down towards Parabolica, and Parabolica being turn 11. Get this right, and you are going to be making up a lot of time as you go around and around towards the pit straight, the pit entry on the right-hand side. So we'll see some cars positioning themselves to get into the pits as they go around there. Of course, we are in round 2. Many rounds to go. 10 rounds in total. We have Dylan Scarborough giving us some advice. In fact, I might as well give it a shot to talk about some of this stuff as well. So Let me read up on this. What did the sea say to the seashore? Nothing. It's just waves. Excellent jokes from Marty, Dylan Scarborough, so I appreciate that. It's good to warm up the vocal cords, and of course I do apologize for any cracks of my voice. I've been doing a lot of commentating in the last few days and a big charity stream on my channel, which unfortunately we are not streaming live today due to a bitrate issue, but that's absolutely fine. These things do happen. Now we are waiting for one more racer to join the race before we can start qualifying, so hopefully we do get started very, very soon. There'll be some interesting strategy calls today. Last time round we saw a couple of options. We saw some two-stoppers and some one-stoppers. The one-stopper obviously being a bit slower, and you are risking a bit of track position with that one-stop strategy. You have to take it very easy on the tires. Now luckily for these cars, they are GT3 class, which means they do have a lot of aero that you can rely on. Use that to your advantage and you can save the tires quite significantly. We did see the big one-stop strategy from Matthew Joinson last time out for Scarborough Motorsport, and we'll be seeing if some of the teams and drivers have decided to take advantage of that. It could be quite a good strategy here. Now you probably won't last too long on the softs here, maybe 20 minutes at the most. The lap times here, we can check on those actually. So it looks like the about 1:50 is going to be the average here today at Monza. So we could be looking at somewhere around 10 to 12 laps for the softs. Now, of course, fuel is something to be aware of as well, so you'll need to manage your fuel. If you're not managing your fuel, you will be in trouble. Now, I believe that's one of the races coming in now. Excellent. Good to see that last person in. That is Tim Pierce for Strike Racetech, so good to have him in the lobby. And that does mean that we will be starting qualifying momentarily. The other strategy, of course, is the two-stopper or even a three-stopper, depending on how you manage your tires. Some of the bronze class drivers opting for a 2 or 3 stop strategy as we do kick off our 20 minutes of qualifying. So on track we go. And a sunny, sunny afternoon. You can hear the crowd cheering in the background. Go on board with some of these guys as they go out of the pits and onto track. We'll be displaying all the info today to give you guys the best chance of keeping up with the information and the racing. So the two-stop strategy here could be a medium soft. My prediction for we've already got some action going down to turn 1. Don't know quite what happened there or who was involved, but I definitely saw someone spin round at turn 1. An absolute disaster zone sometimes if you don't get it right. Don't get on the throttle too early or you will spin the car around. These cars have a lot of power, upwards of 400 or 500 brake horsepower. Now there are some rules about whether you're on a hot lap or not. And you do need to be very aware of who is around you. Otherwise, you could be causing an incident, and that is worth some penalty points if you get it wrong. So as I was saying about the two-stop strategy, likely going to see most two-stoppers start on the softs, switch to the mediums, potentially, and then switch back to the softs. An alternative for that would be to do 3 stints, essentially, on the soft tires. Gives you the maximum chance of maintaining track position and top speed through the course. The one-stop strategy, though, you can do it in 2 ways. You can either start on the softs and try and gain track position with a slower stint at the end, or the opposite way round, starting on the mediums, going for a little bit longer at the start, sacrificing some track position for a late charge. Now that could be very interesting, though I don't think it's going to be the optimum strategy here. While there are some very, very good overtaking opportunities and some 3 long straights for slipstream, it can be quite tricky to get the overtakes done. Main opportunities being the first chicane and Della Roggia. There's no real place to overtake in the Lesmos, and anything in the Parabolica corner, which we're going around right now, is very, very risky. So I suspect the track position is going to be key. So softs and then a medium stint for the one-stoppers, and then softs essentially for the rest of them. Now, the only tire mandated today is the racing softs, and you are allowed to use all compounds. I don't think we're going to see the hard taken out today at all. It's far too slow for this kind of track. But we may see the mediums come out as the one-stoppers push for a longer stint. Chris White getting a little bit squiggly into turn 1, chicane. It's an absolutely killer corner if you get it wrong. Those curbs are much bigger than you might think. That can definitely cause some issues for you if you decide to spin around. Of course, flanked is that corner by 2 gravel pits. You do not want to be touching those at all. If you do make a mistake or you do get punted off by accident, then it is essentially a huge amount of time that you will lose. So hoping for a nice clean race here with no contact. Every driver on the grid is aware of all of these, I wouldn't call them rules, but definitely noting that this is a non-contact sport with the MotorMotion E-Series. So far, I'm not seeing a fastest lap come up, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. We're going to quickly jump back into the spectate mode, see if we can get that fastest lap information up. Looks like they're all just finishing the second lap, so coming out currently on board with Matt Cooke, the Black Rose Racing, in the fastest lap set so far, 47.3. It's actually a very, very good time. We should be seeing people maybe jumping into the 46s today. Half a second behind, it is Monica. Done a good lap there for her. That's an excellent time, a 47.889. 48 zeros, 47.8 from Matthew Joinson. Matthew Joinson, of course, was our second place finisher last time out. Monica will be looking to maintain a really, really good starting position here for the 60-minute race. Finishing in 7th place last time, behind a bronze category driver. She doesn't want to do that again. It's mostly a dignity thing. It's still worth points in 7th place, of course. The NED Racing overall having a pretty good result last time out, putting them overall 4th in the championship, equal with Diffusion Race Engineering. So their main competitors at the moment, Diffusion Race Engineering, and looking to gain the 7-point difference to Black Rose Racing. Our privateer, Chops 1983, putting in a fantastic lap there, 47.869. So we've only got, I think it looks like about less than 0.1 of a second separating 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the moment. This is going to be very, very close. Remember, they do have 20 minutes for qualifying, so plenty of time to get a proper lap in. Squirrel, Jeff Bruin, off in the distance, having a little bit of a penalty. The second back straight is where the penalties are served, so if you do get the automated penalty given to you by GT7 and the stewards, you will have to serve it at that point, which is going to compromise you into Parabolica. Luckily, it's not the longest straight, so you will have an opportunity to catch up the time that you lose, but a 0.5-second penalty can equate to a second lost on track quite easily. Another good lap there from Monica, who will stay on board with for the moment. So 57.5 puts her up into 2nd place, so front row grid spot at the moment. And Matt Cooke ahead with a 0.5-second penalty as well. He has entered the 46s, but that unfortunately is not a valid lap because of the penalty, so that will be taken off the board. Still with a 47.3, so finding a lot of pace here with the Mercedes. It's going to be a strong car today, I suspect. It's got a great top speed. It can be taken advantage of significantly on the straights. With the high-speed Ascari chicane, it is going to perform like an absolute monster, though last time round we did see it murder its front tires. So not sure how that's going to affect strategy at this stage, but could be forcing the Mercedes drivers to be looking at the 2-stop strategy, taking softs twice over 3 stints. Moving down to the bottom of the field, it is Brits Lightning, the other Black Rose Racing driver in the bronze category. A pretty decent time out last time. 13th place, it was a good race for him, but not an ideal finish. Still bagging some points for Black Rose Racing last time, which is exactly the aim. Second penalty though, so running wide in quite a few of those corners. So we move up for Tim Piers, I'm going to call him Rody. I do like this beautiful red livery on the Mercedes. So another Mercedes team, Strike Race Tech. And Only a couple of DNFs last time, so not the finish they were looking for. They'll need to perform quite well today. And we will be keeping a close eye on his teammate, Ricky Rick, who's in the silver category. We should see him have a better qualifying. He had an unfortunate incident in turn 1 at the Nürburgring last time out in round 1, and it was really put him back in the, I think it was probably about 30 seconds behind the field, and eventually just choosing to pit the car as they did have some problems with the engines. The team's working very hard to make sure that their cars are ready and their drivers prepared for this incredible race. Ooh, little excursion onto the grass, making sure the lawns are cut for the fans in the grandstands. WTCR currently leading our team championship. Chris White having a pretty good race last time out as well. Second place in the bronze category with 15 points. So doing very, very well for himself and his team. Currently over 2.5 seconds behind our pole position. And also a little way behind the current bronze class leaders in qualifying. Stay on board with our Diffusion Race Engineering Hellblazer, sponsored by Spotify. Really nice livery. I do like the mix of colors on this one. A Kiwi team, remember, having a pretty decent round last time, getting 5th and 6th overall, and Richard Robinson, who is the bronze category driver, finishing ahead of several silver category drivers, bagging himself a lot of points for the team. 46.2 by Mad Rick. So Ricky Rick for Strike Race Tech, setting the fastest lap at the moment, putting himself on pole position. And no, taken away by Diffusion Race Engineering's Aiden Sampson. An excellent lap there, putting himself up into first place. Still no one back into the 46s. We did see one driver get to the 46s on an invalid lap. Now, it might have been because it was invalid that he was able to cut that 0.3 of a second to get himself into 46s. We will see, and there we go. Our first 46th lap there by Matthew Joinson for Scarborough Motorsport in the Porsche 911 RSR. Doing very, very well. That's an excellent lap. Porsche is, again, one of the faster cars on the grid with regards to top speed. Not the best in the corners, I was about to say, as he gets squiggly out of turn 1. And that's exactly the problem with the Porsche. It's a MR spec car. So that means that the engine is in the middle, but it's rear-wheel drive. So you can end up giving the car a lot of oversteer. You've got to manage the balance of these MR cars very carefully. And I believe it's the only MR car on the grid. So Scarborough Motorsport with a very bold choice for their season. You see in the background the 2 Strike Race Tech drivers coming through De La Roggia as our onboard car going wide at Lesmo 1. Black Friday won't be happy with that, but he has bagged himself P1 on the grid at the moment. So doing very, very well. And I say that too soon. The commentator's curse hitting me. It is Matt Cooke, who's done another 46. This was the driver for Black Rose Racing who did have the 46 originally, but invalidated it with a penalty. So managing to get himself back into the 46 is excellent job there by Matt Cooke. Starting at the top of the grid is key to avoid the chaos into turn 1. Some people do say that starting second is better as you do have the inside line, though it is a rolling start here for the GT3 Championships. So no real advantage off the grid at the start of the endurance race. Just whoa, and we've got a flying car. I do believe that's a small glitch from Gran Turismo. That was incredible scenes here at Monza, folks. We've got GT3 cars in the air and mowing the lawn. Not what we expected in this qualifying. That bollard very poorly placed directly on the racing line out of the second part of the De La Roggia chicane. We'll stay on board with Jeff Bruin, who's set an incredibly good lap, a 46.696. So these guys getting up to speed with their tires, getting used to the track getting a little bit more rubber put down on it. And that does mean we are seeing faster and faster times. Only 29 hundredths of a second separating first and second, and 26 hundredths of a second separating second and third place. This is an incredibly close qualifying at the moment. 8 minutes remaining in the session. Some low fuel runs definitely making the difference. Yeah, remember, the lighter your car is, the faster it will go. For those of you who haven't figured that out, who do not know about how these cars will perform better. Our privateer 9100ths away from third place. Now, while he doesn't race for a team, he is using the Mercedes AMG, and he will be keen to mix up the field once again. Very strong start, but a little bit of a drop-off from Chops last time out at the Nürburgring. As the times continue to drop. Jeff Bruin setting an incredible lap time there, 46.608. That's good enough to put him on pole, P1, as both the Mercedes drivers coming in, including our privateer. Third place finish for Sean Parker, our privateer driver, bagging himself 10 points in the last race. Unfortunately, he had to pit a couple of times, and I don't think that was the optimum strategy last time out. By the time we got to about mid-race, it was very clear that the one-stop was the way to go. I suspect we will see some more drivers opt for the one-stop this time out. The drivers will have been doing their debriefs after the Nürburgring last time out, getting themselves ready for this race. Of course, they have an elite and platinum level driver, so that's the elite and pro class drivers in the elite, in the platinum and the gold championship in each team for them to rely on for information and practice with. So the strategy can be coordinated between all four cars, and if you can manage it in the silver and bronze class, then you might as well be taking advantage of those faster drivers in the upper classes. It's still very important for the teams to be bagging good points in the silver and bronze championships. Beautiful scenes here as the two Scarborough Motorsport cars coming through Curva Grande. Stunning day here at the legendary Monza. I'd love to be out there in the grandstand, but it is the commentary box for me. And I get to watch all the action with all the information and, of course, bring this live to you folks. Oh, and our privateer Chops getting a pit lane penalty. If you do cross the white line on pit exit, you will get a massive penalty. That pit lane white line there is to ensure that you don't cross into fast traffic coming down the pit straight. These cars hitting well over 250 kilometers per hour down that pit straight. They're incredibly fast. You have to be very careful about how you exit the pit lane. That is why that pit lane penalty is in effect. Make sure that nothing happens to oncoming fast traffic. So Chops receiving a bit of a penalty from the stewards. 5 minutes remaining, so 3/4 distance. They're starting to wind things up in this qualifying. Well, I suspect that we will see some extra fast times coming through shortly. Still in the lead, it's Jeff Bruin. We'll start making our way down the field, see who we've got leading our bronze category at the moment. And right now, it is actually Karma Foster for NED Racing in the Aston Martin V12. Beautiful livery from them. And she's done a very good lap time of 47.529. And that's good enough right now to put her at the top of the bronze category drivers. I'm going to double check that we do not have any other bronze category drivers through here. We do not. Our previous race winner, IMAT 99548, Dean van der Zandt. The F-Type Jag, chosen by WTC-Racing, not looking the strongest here today. It's quite possible that it does not have the top line speed or potentially the quartering to get through Monza quickly. Definitely going to be a challenge for him, as the Mercedes are clearly the faster car here today, though Jeff Bruin shaking things up, putting the BMW on pole position. Another BMW Hellblazer, Diffusion Race Engineering through Ascari, going onto the gravel. Definitely not what you want to be doing in your last few qualifying laps. So rolls 2-0, and that's Karma Foster's teammate, Super VT 2000, Monica Camilleri. While she is Australian, that last name does indicate that a little bit of a Italian background potentially for Monica. So she'll be happy to be racing here today, but not able to put that Aston Martin up the grid just yet. Her teammate, oh no, she's just gone faster than her teammate. So Monica putting her car 0.2 of a second ahead of Karma Foster. Still a very good lap from Karma Foster, so well done to her. She's done incredibly well this qualifying so far, putting in some reasonably consistent laps. Wade Rushton very close behind Karma Foster for Gridline Racing. Doing well. His fastest lap so far, 47.8. He will need to improve that to get further up the grid. Doing very well so far on some low fuel runs now. We will see if he can put in a better time. Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering finished 6th place in the Nürburgring last time out. Good qualifying so far. The BMW M6 does look like it's very good on its tires. So it runs maybe a little bit wide into turn 1, not taking all the curve that he could have, and getting very squiggly out of the last part of the chicane. That's going to compromise this lap, but a 46.686 on his last lap, that's very good. Good enough for 10th spot on the grid. So currently 2nd place, Richard Robinson in the bronze category. 3rd place, it is Wade Rushfire for Gridline Racing in the BMW M6. Nearly 1/4 of a second off of Richard Robinson at the moment. A 47.822, so doing quite well. Needs to put in a bit faster of a lap. He's currently sitting in 3rd place in the bronze category in terms of the qualifying positions. Behind him, it's Troy Britnell, who we haven't talked about much so far today. Black Rose Racing. Not the best of finishes last time out. 13th, a little bit of an unlucky number. Let's see if he can put this car a little bit further up. So far in 12th place. Not bad lap there, 48.1. 1 minute left, so this will be the last lap for Troy Britnell and a number of others as they go across the grid. Scarborough Motorsport's team owner, Marty, also known as Dylan Scarborough, that Porsche 911, not able to get into the 47s just yet. They're still doing well to manage this MR car. Tricky car to manage, as I mentioned earlier, around this track. The weight balance is going to be tricky through the chicanes and the Lesmo corners. Fast on the straights, which they can make up a lot of time. I think the key here for him is going to be avoid the chaos at the start and get some positions later on in the race. Last but not least at the moment, in 14th place for qualifying, it is Rody. That's Tim Piers from Strike Racetech. Currently at the back of the grid, setting a 48.870 his fastest lap. This is the last lap they will get. Oh, and he's gone wide, so unfortunately that has probably sealed the deal for Tim Piers. He'll have to back out and let those races behind him go. Not going to be able to set a faster lap there, sadly, for him. At the moment, our privateer setting the fastest lap of 46.483. Excellent job, across the line. No more qualifying time for him. That's an excellent lap. Can Jeff come across the line and do better? Let's see. I'm not sure if he's had the best Sector 1 or 2. We'll see how he does out of Parabolica. Good line. Going as close down. No, unfortunately, compromised in Sector 1 and 2. That, unfortunately, is his race over. But P2 on the grid, a good finish there for Jeff. Very well done in the BMW M6 for his team. Matt Kutch across the line. He'll secure that 3rd place as it stands right now. Only 59/100ths behind Skrill, so very close to getting on the front row. So our 4th place at the moment is Matthew Joinson. Oh, and he loses a spot there to IMAT, who takes that F-type Jag and puts it in 2nd place, putting Jeff back into 3rd place. Jeff will be disappointed with that. He nearly had a front row spot, and that's the ideal spot to start in this commentator's opinion. So Matthew Joinson only able to get 5th place, followed by Hellblazer of Diffusion Race Engineering. Madrick, who was going very well for Strike Racetech, not able to get his car up into the top 5. A 7th place start for him. Monica doing well as well. An 8th place finish for her. And that does round out the top 8. And all of the Silver Championship drivers finishing ahead in qualifying of their Bronze Championship counterparts. So no extra points going to be awarded to the Bronze category drivers in qualifying for that. Richard Robinson securing the 1st place spot for the Bronze Championship in the qualifying. Great place for him to start. That's going to be good in the overall championship if he can maintain that 1st spot for Bronze category in and through to the finish of this race. Karma Foster not able to set anything better than her 47.529. Still a very, very respectable lap. Excellent drive from her in the Aston Martin. securing 10th place on the grid, second in the bronze category. Troy Britnell, third in the bronze category, but 11th on the grid overall. In the pits, it's Wade Rushton, securing 4th in the bronze category. Good start from him. Dylan Scarborough, 5th in the bronze category. Doing well. 13th spot for him. Not the qualifying that he was hoping for, but maybe some points there to be gained. And last but not least, it is Tim Pears in the Mercedes AMG for Strike Racetech, rounding out our grid in 14th spot and 6th in the bronze category for the start of the race. Now we are going to a 10-minute break before we get into the race, so we will be keeping an eye on chat to make sure that we are aware of when this race starts. Of course, as you can see, 15 total on the grid. So I did miss out one person at the end there, and that was Chris White in the F-Type Jag, only able to set a 49.1. I had a feeling I'd missed someone on the grid, and turns out it was Chris White, so my apologies to him. Not the best performance, as he had quite a good finish last time out, finishing second in the bronze category in the race. We will see if he can make up some positions at the start. The start is a very important one here at this race. 60 minutes, of course, at a sunny Monza. We will be going to a very, very short ad break from our sponsor, so we will be back in a short while.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
And welcome back. An excellent qualifying from all the teams there today. Quite a hardline split between our Silver Championship and Bronze Championship drivers. That is the Pro-Am and Am class, respectively. So going to be an interesting start to this race. A rolling start, as always, for our 60-minute race here at Monza. Will be interesting to see if any of the Bronze category drivers can finish ahead of their Silver category. Oh, we've got a cancellation on the race. Will be returned to practice. I think something's happened with the lobby. The grid will be reformatted shortly, but the 10-minute break for the drivers happening at the moment. We will shortly see things return to normal. Noting here a 1.8 meter per second tailwind into turn 1. Not an ideal situation for turn 1. That tailwind is going to turn around to become a headwind as they go into Parabolica. Very handy for that corner, so it'll really set them up properly to go down to the long pit straight. 1.2 kilometers that straight. The cars will be hitting well over 250 kilometers per hour. Extremely fast entry. They've got to make sure they hit their braking zones absolutely perfectly, or they will be in a lot of trouble. So far, no incidents at all during qualifying. Everyone racing cleanly, though. Some people picking up some penalties. Not ideal for them, ruining some of their qualifying laps. But overall, I think we've had quite a solid qualifying for all the teams. A late charge there by our previous race winner, Dean van der Zandt, able to put himself up into second place on the grid. And that is going to be quite an impressive little finish there for him at during qualifying. I'm definitely keen to see what strategies are going to be chosen by the teams in the race. Like I said earlier, the choice is really between a one-stop and a two-stop strategy. The two-stopper strategy will probably be a racing soft 3 stints in a row, as that is the only mandatory tire, though the teams are able to choose whatever tires they would like. The one-stop strategy, we could see the hard tire making an appearance today, though it's very, very unlikely. And unfortunately, we've had a problem with the lobby, so we will take ourselves over to a temporary screen for now until that is sorted out. I will be rejoining that lobby momentarily. I think we've had a little bit of a problem with the network connection in GT7. So very typical GT7 things to deal with. The lobbies have occasionally had some problems. Hopefully all the races will be able to reconnect nice and easily. So a bit more information for everyone on this track and the current standings. We'll have a quick look at the Group A finishes of HC Lewis for the NED Racing, able to bag a first place finish last time out. I think it might have been on my side, so we'll just take a quick pause here on the commentary while we try and sort out the lobby situation. Hopefully we'll be back in momentarily for the race. 60 minutes here at Monza. Very much looking forward to this. And looks like our lobby is in fact back up, so we will switch back over to the lobby screen as we wait for the race to begin. Sunny afternoon here. The wind has slightly changed down to almost none. In fact, reading currently is 0. That might pick up again slightly. The wind we had before, 1.8 meters per second down into the first corner, was not significant, but enough to affect these cars a little bit. There's plenty of aero that they rely on. So we will see how they fare. That turn 1 and into the Della Roggia chicane, very, very dangerous places for the competitors. You can go side by side there, but if you run a little bit wide, or if someone takes a little bit too much speed into the corner, you will find yourself getting punted onto a curb that will unsettle a car, potentially spin you around, and then it's all hell breaks loose from that point. Anyone who has raced on this circuit before knows how dangerous those corners can be. But as you go down through Lesmo, things do improve. Beautiful corners, the Lesmo corners. Number 1 and 2, corners 6 and 7. Which take you to one of the long back straights. Another good opportunity to overtake into Ascari if you get the run on people. If you don't, then definitely one to back out of. You do not want to be going sideways, or side by side, I should say, during Ascari. It is not the place to do that. You want to use the Ascari chicane to essentially hold as much speed as possible into the long back straight towards Parabolica, as our race host Jeff Bruin is sorting out the final bits of this lobby. Some small technical issues affecting us, folks, so we will continue to bring you some commentary while that gets sorted out. To continue the standings from the Elite and Pro divisions, leading at the moment is Lewis Atkinson, HC Lewis. Second place is Andrew Scott, Ando 787. Third place for Black Rose Racing is Mr. Holton. Fourth place, it is Mr. Hosking for Scarborough Motorsport. Wade Von Duve for WTC-R. Sixth place is Richard Foster for Diffusion Race Engineering. In seventh place, rounding out the Elite division, is Ned Piers for Stripe Race Tech. In the Pro category, also known as the Gold Championship, it is Morgan Davey, who's actually upgraded to elite driver status for this time round, having a second place finish at the end of the previous race, which was considered by the race stewards post-race, and he was upgraded to the elite category. So now 8 drivers in that category. He will not take any points from the Pro category into the elite category. Mr. Barlow for Black Rose Racing in second place, now upgraded to first place in the gold category, followed by Kesby for Scarborough Motorsport. Taylor for Scarborough Motorsport, so good points finishes for both of them in Scarborough Motorsport. Then Strike Race Tech, it is Attard in the 4th place spot for the Gold Championship. Taylor for Gridline Racing, that's GLR Scotty. Then we've got Mead for Diffusion Race Engineering, and then last but not least, it is Izon for NED Racing. So NED Racing need to get a good result here. Like I said earlier, they are currently equal 4th place with Diffusion Race Engineering, with Gridline Racing 1 point behind both of those teams. So a real scrap going on here for 4th place. They're not that far away from 3rd place either. It is very early in the championship. Chops needs to tick in, as he's currently not, which is not giving us a good chance to get this race started. He does need to tick in, otherwise we're going to have some problems. Don't know what the issue is at the moment with Chops, but our privateer not doing what he's supposed to be doing in this lobby and delaying the entire race at the moment. So apologies for the long break, folks. We will be getting started as soon as Chops ticks in. I will give him a little bit of a reminder. Some of the drivers taking advantage of this time to get a little bit more practice out on track. We won't go on board with anyone at this stage. We'll just take in the beautiful views of Monza, this legendary track. Formula 1 does go here during the year. The Tifosi absolutely love it. One of my favorite motorsport classes, Formula 1. Also the GT3s, not only in our MotorMotion Esports Championship, but also the other GT3 classes occasionally do make a appearance at this racetrack. A great place for racing to take place. Racing all year round, except when it snows or is too rainy, of course. Luckily for us, though, this afternoon it is a very, very sunny Monza. And that is, I'm sure, a very, very comforting thing for all the drivers. No rain to be found yet. Though as we get into the later half of this season, we may see some weather at these tracks. Now, Strike Race Tech, who we did see one of their cars on the grid, Mercedes-AMG, their choice of car, so it should be a strong showing for them today. Ricky Rick did well to get himself up there in the qualifying. Top 5, I believe. Tim Piers, unfortunately, further down the field. But between those two drivers, some points available for them today. They did have some unfortunate issues with disconnects and ECU issues on the car last time out. Not something that you want to experience during one of these 60-minute races. So spending a lot of time in the pits was Mad Rick. Not able to really get the car out there for any significant running. As I believe we do now have everyone who needs to be ticked in is ticked in the lobby. Hoping to get going very, very soon. Jeff Bruin doing a good job to keep all the races on point. Now, obviously, it will be very interesting to see if Dean van der Zandt for WTCR is going to be able to pull out another victory today. starting very high up the grid. I believe he's starting in second place, so that's the optimum location to start, as it does give you the inside line, technically speaking, into turn 1. Though, again, with these rolling starts, we do end up with a fairly even grid. Our privateer, who took a while to tick in, actually gained P1, so good on him. Jeff Bruin just missing out in third place. So third and fourth going to be an interesting one. But as you can see in the top 5, we've got 2 Mercedes AMGs. So the Mercedes is very, very strong around this race. And there we go. The final countdown has begun. At long last, we get to start our 60-minute race here at Monza for the MotorMotion E-Series Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. We will be going on board to spectate momentarily. Bring up all the race information for everyone. And let's see how they go. The rolling start procedure will begin momentarily. Hearing those beautiful sounds coming out of the back of these GT3 class cars. And the lights will go on momentarily. Here we go, I can hear them in the background, and it is lights out for round 2 at Monza for 60 minutes. Excellent start from all the participants, no issues with the rolling start. Let's see what happens down into turn 1. Chops in the lead, followed by Dean van der Zandt, and looks like we've got a Black Rose Racing car going up the inside of Jeff Bruin. Can he hold on? Yes, he is. Matt Cooke trying to look up the inside there in turn 1, but the inside rapidly becomes the outside of the exit on the chicane. Through Curva Grande they go. Very close racing here between these two. Matt Cooke opting for the inside line, trying to get around for the Della Roggia chicane. Will he be able to make a move happen? This is where some antics can go on if the cars are not driven properly. Very fair racing between those two so far, and Squirrel comes out on top, now closely followed by PLE Black Friday. That's Matthew Joynson in the 911 Porsche. Hellblazer behind them for Diffusion Race Engineering. Good start from him, not able to get any positions early on. Madrick as well, doing well, maintaining his position. Monica Camilleri as well, doing well to keep her 8th position as they come down the first of the back straight. We've got a little bit of action further down the line. I believe that is Wade Rushton. No, it's not. It is Chris White in the WTCR car spinning out at Lesmo 2. I don't know if there was any contact there. Let's hope not. Things heating up in the bronze category already. The current leader is Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering. First place in the bronze category at the moment, following closely behind Monica and being followed closely by Karma Foster, NED Racing, and he's got himself a penalty. He'll have to serve that on the next lap. That's going to lose him a spot or two. Both the NED Racing cars going up against the Diffusion Race Engineering cars. Great racing here as Richard goes wide at Parabolica. That opens up a bit of a line for Karma Foster. Doing incredibly well. What a start to this race we are having. Top 5 getting bedded in. It is Chops, our privateer, in the lead in the Mercedes AMG, followed by Dean van der Zandt, followed by Jeff Bruin in 3rd place. That's our top 3 currently, as these cars for NED Racing and Diffusion Engineering, which we're on board with now, go into the first chicane. Good fair racing from all the participants. It's a 60-minute race. You don't want to be going and doing anything crazy. And there's been an incident. Jeff Bruin losing out there to Matthew Joynson. I don't know if there was any contact. I can't see any contact between the cars. And Joynson's got the inside line into Della Roggia. A little bit of contact on entry. But Jeff Bruin, unfortunately, losing out there. All these cars so far, as we can see, opting for the soft strategy at the start. As we've got a little bit more action, Mash Kush trying to look down the inside of Jeff Bruin. Don't know what's happened with that BMW. It's not got the power for some reason. Might have a little bit of gravel on the tires, which they'll have to sort out. We see in the distance the battle still going on between NED Racing and Diffusion Race Engineering. Down towards Saskari we go. Through we go. Onto the second back straight. The current leader in the Silver Championship, that will be Chops 1983, our privateer. Looking at max points so far, he's a 2.5, so building a bit of a gap here to IMAT. The gap behind IMAT to Matthew Joynson of Scarborough Motorsport, not that big. Staying at around 1 second so far. Now we will see some big slipstream in effect. You're not really allowed to use the slipstream too much here. If you do get slipstream, you are required to make a move and overtake, as Jeff does move out on Peely Black Friday here. Can he get the braking zone right? Let's see. Oh, great move there from Jeff Bruin. Excellent job. Really makes a great move through the first chicane, but not the best runs out into Curva Grande. That's going to give Joinson the run again through Curva Grande. A repeat of what we just saw last lap. Matt Kutch waiting and lurking behind just about a second. If any antics happen, he will be on to that. It is Aiden Sampson we're on board with now for Diffusion Race Engineering. A 6th place for him at the moment, followed by Monica Camilleri for NED Racing. That's an excellent line there through De La Roggia, and it looks like the battle has sort of evened out between Diffusion Race Engineering and NED. So NED Racing's 2 drivers, the meat and the sandwich. Although, as we can see behind, we do have a new leader. Sorry, new 2nd place driver here for the Bronze Championship. That's Brits Lightning, Troy Britnell for Black Rose Racing, doing very well to get himself up there. Karma Foster, at the moment, an incredible drive from her. We're going to stay on board with Karma Foster for NED Racing for a little bit here. She's currently leading the bronze category, doing very well, over a second out. Just a little bit less than that. So Troy Britnell in the Mercedes AMG showing the power of that Mercedes GT3 car. And he will get a little bit of slipstream as they go down towards Parabolica. Let's see if Karma Foster can hold off Troy down the long pit straight. This is a battle for maximum points in the bronze category, and it is heating up. 4 bronze category drivers within a second and a half of each other. And look at these beautiful scenes, that trail of cars. A very good defensive line there from Karma Foster. She'll be able to hold that, hopefully, down into turn 1. As Troy Britnell got around the outside, looks like he has. That's good job from him. Richard Robinson trying to take advantage. Oh, Karma Foster getting a little bit squiggly on the exit. That's going to compromise her into Grande. Can Richard Robinson make something happen? Things are kicking off here in the bronze category. We go on board now with Richard Robinson into the De La Roggia chicane, looking up the inside of Karma Foster. Oh, he's got a little bit of late braking, a little bit of contact there, it looks like, or he did back out. Wade Rushton close in his rear mirror, going for the outside line. No, thinks better of it. Same with the 911 Porsche of Dylan Scarborough. Someone clipping the wall there as well. I did hear that. Oh, some excellent racing happening down here in the bronze category. Remember, folks, this is for maximum points as well. Currently the top 4 all in a row in the bronze category. Led at the moment by Troy Britnell, who got a good overtake on Karma Foster, but she'll have the run on him, using a little bit of that slipstream down towards Parabolica. So we switch back to our cinematic camera. Oh, and that's a penalty picked up by Wade Rushton for GLR Gridline Racing. 2nd penalty. He's run very wide and right over the white line. Unfortunately, that's going to pick him up. A huge, huge penalty for next lap. Very unfortunate there. Looking at the back of the field, we do have Mad Rick. Oh, something's happened to Mad Rick, our silver category driver. He's had an incident. He's now behind his teammate, Tim Piers. Oh, a big recovery drive for Mad Rick once again. We had the same thing happen, unfortunately, out in the Nürburgring last time out. Oh, that's super unfortunate. You can see the damage on the left front of that car. He's had an incident and he's got into the wall. Big recovery drive for him. Last but not least, it is Flighty Whitey. That's Chris White for WTCR. That Jag struggling a little bit at this course. Hopefully he can do a little bit to pull himself back into the bronze category championship. The fight going on for the top of that bronze category. But it is now with our leader, Chops 1983, our privateer in the Mercedes, showing the power of that car. He's got the straight line speed advantage over the Jag in 2nd place of Dean van der Zant. But as we saw last time, he is using a significant, and I mean really significant amount more, tires than the F-Type Jag. So the F-Type Jag will be able to extend this soft stint much further. And we'll be coming up to pit stop distance at about 12 minutes, where the pit window will open for the softs. They will be able to get somewhere around 10 laps, maybe 11, maybe 12 laps on these soft tires, depending on how the car manages the tires and how the driver keeps those tires alive. The fight that we saw last time was between Matthew Joynson at the end and Dean van der Zandt. All these drivers at the top, part of the silver category. But close behind Matthew Joynson, we do have Jeff Bruin. He's doing good so far. Great drive from him at the start. Unfortunately, losing out to Matthew Joynson. Having a couple of fights through Curva Grande. Oh, he looks for the inside. Nearly gets it. Oh, he's very fast on the exit with that BMW. Usually the BMW has some understeer problems, but showing quite clearly that he's managing, the tires very well. He's got lots of grip into turn one, but also just knows his lines very, very well. So good driving from Jeff Bruin. Some defensive driving, as we can see, from Matthew Joynson. We go a little bit further down the grid. It is Matt Cooke doing better than our leader in the Mercedes AMG to manage those tires. The GT3 car for Mercedes, very rough on its front tires, but actually overall a very stable car, so doing well around here. Good in the corners, good on the straights. But again, the strategy calls will have to be made with regards to the tire wear. Now, fuel consumption so far looks good around the course. Aiden Sampson's tires looking excellent as well. Now, some of these drivers will opt to using some assists to help them manage the tires throughout the race. Assists are completely allowed in this class of cars. In fact, they are in some cases recommended, depending on how you want to drive. So rounding out last place in our Silver Championship at the moment, it is NED Racing Super VT 2000, Monica Camilleri. She's not too far behind Aiden Sampson, only 1.7 seconds, so she's still in it. Now, very interesting, she has lit up the rear tires in that Aston V12. So the Aston V12 really, it's basically the opposite of the Mercedes. The Mercedes is ruining its front tires and the rear tires seem to be okay, and the Aston Martin seems to be the opposite. Lighting up its rear tires, but keeping the fronts very, very good. We will watch and see how this Aston performs into turn one. There's a pretty good indicator of how they go in the corners. A low-speed corner, of course, the hard braking zone before it. So you want to be using that aero, that you won't have a lot of it. See how she goes. Yeah, I'd say pretty good. The exit for the Aston Martins does seem a little bit slow, and that might be indicative. The FR nature of the car does mean that you have a lot of weight at the front, a lot of power at the rear. And that combination can be very tricky to manage. That's probably the hardest thing about turn one for the FR type cars, of which most on the grid are. And depending on exactly how the car handles the weight transfer of the car, a little bit of gravel picked up. That won't do Monica any favors. Yes, we can hear her sliding around that corner, not having all the grip available to her as the car needs to shake off the gravel from the rear tires. I guess it was actually technically both the left tires, the front and the rear, that got the gravel. But leading our bronze category, as we jump back through the field, it is Brits Lightning. He's doing pretty well to manage his tires, even so far. I haven't seen anyone on the racing mediums at the moment. So as I suspected, the one-stop strategy and the two-stop strategy will be employing the racing softs throughout this race. The mediums will be quite significantly slower at this course, and it does give you the risk of running it very, very wide with a lot less grip on the mediums. Monica's teammate, Karma Foster, she's pulled out a little bit of a gap to Richard behind her, but not a lot. Richard will get that slipstream. Takes a very shallow line into Parabolica. Might compromise him on exit. We'll see if the timing screen shows that. But Troy Britnell, who finished 13th last time, showing that he's got some speed. Bags of talent there for him. He's really putting that on track, pulling out 2.8 seconds to Karma Foster, who's second at the moment on the grid. Or will there be a little bit of a look up the inside? Richard thinking about it, but thinks better of it. Choosing to use the BMW's slightly better exit speed. Not 100% sure how the Aston and the BMW compare in terms of top speed. I suspect they're quite even. But the BMW, definitely showing that it's got a little bit more grip on turn in and corner exit. But a very good drive through those corners in the Della Roggia for Karma Foster. Gives herself a little bit of a breathing room behind her. On board now with team owner of Scarborough Motorsport, it is Marty McFarty. One of my favorite names on the grid. And honestly, one of my favorite liveries as well, the stark, very distinct yellow and black with the beautiful gray kangaroo on the side. Really works well with the Porsche's aerodynamic lines. They're currently in 4th place in the bronze category. 14 minutes in the race. So coming up to quarter distance in our race tonight. Now Dylan's, he can see the race is ahead of him, but a little bit of no man's zone for him at the moment as we look behind. Wade Rushton nowhere near at the moment. Coming down the field, and it looks like we do have a pit stop already done by Matthew Joynson. Now that is interesting, folks. He's jumped onto the mediums with a full tank of fuel. Choosing to refuel, that's a very interesting strategy. A very early pit stop on the softs. It might be that the two-stop strategy is going to be the play for him today. There's no real need to be on the mediums if you don't need to be. But if he can extend this stint out, he may be looking to go to the end already. So not making the softs last the 10 laps that I was expecting. Now we'll have to see how this plays out for him. Very bold strategy there from PLE Black Friday. I do hope that works out for him. We saw him pit reasonably early. Oh, as we get Tim Pierce going nearly into the barriers through turn 1. Not ideal. His teammate Ricky Rick in the background, slowly but surely catching him up. And last but not least, we do have Chris White picking up some damage on the front of his car. So that front splitter not going to be operational until he goes into the pit lane and gets it repaired. Curva Grande looking particularly grand. Excuse my terrible, terrible accents. Definitely one of the best corners, especially for overtakes around here. Jumping back up the top of the field, and we have had a little bit of action and a switcheroo. Dean van der Zandt able to get ahead of our privateer. Now, as you can see, Dean van der Zandt has been using those rear tires. That rear the rear left is absolutely dead. And that's because he's been absolutely throwing it into Parabolica, the highest speed corner of the track, and definitely the most hard on the tires. So I don't know quite what's happened here, whether Chops has fallen back, and it may have been that because, speaking of bad right-left tires, well, the Mercedes AMG, it's absolutely wrecking its tires. These guys pushing the cars to the absolute limit. They are trying to extend the stint, but once again, the extended stint for Chops not working out, and he's lost track position because of it. Oh, got a very bad line there into Della Roggia. And that brings Jeff back into contention, though his rear left is also in trouble. So we'll see how this plays out, but I suspect we are going to start seeing some pit stops now. So whether we see a double stint on the softs or a single stint over to the mediums like Matthew Joynson, we will see very shortly. So all the top 5 cars so far struggling on their tires, though Aiden Sampson doing very well to manage them. He's losing a little bit of time behind to Monica, who's making a little bit of a late charge. That Aston doing very well with her tires. And of course Monica doing very well to manage them as well. Making NED Racing proud. And one of my favorite liveries, they do have individual colors for all the cars, which I do really like. A bright, hot pink for Monica. Very distinct livery. Still in the lead of the bronze category. We will jump through the rear of the field now once again as I try and keep an eye on who is pitting. It looks like the top guy is choosing to go for another lap. Now, interestingly, it's actually the right front for Troy Britnell and the Mercedes AMG that is getting worn out. That's an interesting, very interesting. So it's a driving, often it does come down to driving style. So opting to put a lot more load on the front of the car rather than the rear. And that could be indicative of using a little bit less throttle through turns like Parabolica. Oh, it gets a little bit slow. Nearly runs across the orange curb there. Dear oh dear, that was very close, but he manages to save it, losing a little bit of time to Karma Foster, and the things are kicking off once again in the bronze category. As Dylan is looking to get the inside, some defensive driving there from Karma Foster as they go into the Della Roggia chicane. Dylan thinking twice about going in side by side to that corner. As he, oh no, he hits the yellow curb. Oh, it's a disaster for Dylan Scarborough. He's gone flying off into the Shadow Realm. No good. That is unfortunate. His tire is probably taking a beating. Not able to get the angle into Della Roggia and just flying off the track. Oh, that's a disaster for Dylan Scarborough. Wade Rushton taking advantage of the situation, puts him up into third place in the bronze category so far on track. That would have been very, very good for Dylan Scarborough, followed closely now by his teammate in the Silver Championship, who I imagine he'll give some slipstream to and then get out of the way of. As we see that happening right now, using his indicators to make sure they have a safe pass. No team orders, but given PLE Black Friday is the silver category driver, it does make sense to switch that out as they go through Ascari. Now some pit stops we can see from Jeff Bruin in third place, or was in third place, and Mercedes driver, our privateer, Chops Landing A3. So it will be interesting to see what strategy they end up on. Oh, look at that right rear. Oh, it's nearly dead. Running the risks now of actually popping a tire. So Richard Robertson's got to be very careful. I would probably pit if I were him. Let's see if he does. He's holding the right-hand line. Yeah, that does look like he's going in for the pits. And indeed he does. And Tim Pierce opting to stay out. That's risky. He's very much in the risk of popping that rear right. So this guy is on lap 12, pushing it to the absolute limit. Monica choosing to go on another soft stint. So that's very interesting. We will go through the entire field and check out what all the strategies are. Oh, Matt Kuchar going for a risky strategy as well, with that potentially ripping that rear right to shreds. You've got to be very careful. Once the tires get underneath 10%, you are at risk of popping the tire, and that will send you into a spin. It's very hard to get the car back to the pit if you do not have a right rear tire. Now we will see the grid start to mix up a little bit as the pit stops occur. So provisional lead at the moment still with Dean van der Zand. Though I just seen, hold on, it looks like Jeff Bruin has managed to leapfrog the the undercut, actually working very, very well to Jeff Bruin's advantage. Excellent job from him in the pit lane. But even better has it worked out for Chops, our privateer. Now, Dean van der Zand going onto the softs. I wonder if he's run off or had an incident, because he has, despite pitting a little bit earlier than those two, he has actually lost out 2 positions. He was in the lead of this race. I wonder if he had a little incident either out of the pits or through the first sector as the tires start to warm up. Karma Foster coming into the pits. Also Matt Kuch in the pits. We will see the grid start to reorganize itself, and our new leader of the race in the Silver Championship category, it is Chops 1983, our privateer. So well done to him, I believe the undercut, and forgive me, I do get these mixed up sometimes with the overcut and undercut. But I believe the undercut there working, the overcut there, sorry, working very, very well to his advantage, staying out a little bit longer on the track, on the slightly worn softs, which again doesn't make a lot of sense. But it may also come down to a refueling situation. Though it doesn't look like Dean has taken much more fuel than the other front runners. Jeff Bruin actually taking a much, much bigger tank of fuel. Matthew Joinson with Matt Kuch right behind him, going fast into the Della Roggia, having to go defensive. Looking a little bit squiggly on the exit, but of course he's on the mediums. He's been on them for several laps now. Had nearly 4 laps on those mediums, so he will be slow on track, but he's looking to go and play the long game. Now, I'm still not 100% sure that he's going for a one-stop strategy. If he is, he could be saving upwards of 25 seconds, if not 30 seconds, in the in-lap and the out-lap, including the pit stop. So we'll see what happens. He's used quite a bit of his fuel already, and not even at half distance, so I don't quite know how. Oh, with a little bit of a look at the inside by Matt Cooke, it was close. Very clean driving from them, respectful driving from both. Not going for any crazy moves. Matt Cooke must have an idea that Matt Joinson is on the slower compounder tires. It's very obvious on track when you start to compare lap times and corner entry and exit. Through Parabolica they go. Almost looked like we had a bit of contact there, but no contact between these drivers. Matt Cooke will be looking to use the slipstream down to turn 1. As Matt Joinson looking to break that slipstream immediately. Doesn't want to give Matt Cooke any advantage. But track position here, as I was saying earlier, does make a huge difference in this race. Especially towards the end when there's not too many race overtaking opportunities. Oh, there's a dive down the inside. That was opportunistic. All it's doing is bringing Aiden Sampson, who we will go on board with now, into contention so we can watch this race up front. Behind him is Monica Camilleri for NED Racing. She's not last in the Silver Championship, currently in 7th for the Silver Championship drivers. Oh, Matt Cooke picks up a penalty in front. He's gone a little bit wide through Della Roggia, my apologies. That will cost him a bit and probably cost him 5th place in this race. He won't be happy with himself. Any penalty here will cost you track position if the car behind you is close enough. On board Monica's perspective now. These lovely helmet camera shots. These GT3 cars are fitted with all sorts of cameras across the car. Yes, some V12. That V12 engine, very violent downshifts, but it's an incredibly powerful car. There we go, up front. Matt Cooke has served his penalty. Will Aiden Sampson be able to make something of it? Gets squeezed onto the outside of Parabolica. It can be a very, very tricky place to make an overtake. Does he make it stick? Yes, he has. But side by side they go. Mercedes versus BMW. Who has got the top line speed? Neither of them with a slipstream at all. And all this is doing is bringing Monica back into contention. Oh, side by side into turn 1. Very respectful racing from both of them. Aiden Sampson able to get the main line out of turn 1, but he is compromised on exit. That gives Matt Cooke the run and 5th place back after serving the penalty. So a little bit lucky there in some ways, but a very good line through turn 1 from Matt Cooke, able to stay out of the rear bumper of Aiden Sampson for Diffusion Race Engineering. Here the rear exhaust of that V12 Aston in the background, making a lot of noise here at Monza today. The fans will be loving it in the grandstand. So let's go down the grid and let's see if anyone else is decided to use the mediums for a one-stop strategy. So far, no one, everyone opting to stay on the soft tires. So I think we'll potentially be seeing a two-stop strategy for some of these guys, but truthfully, we only saw the racing softs last about 15, maybe 18 minutes on track. So given that, that is not even a third race distance. You might just be able to stretch it one more lap throughout one of those stints. So we'll see. A three-stop strategy here would be very unconventional and probably a little bit overkill as well. Now, the real champion at the moment is Chops. He is in the lead, our privateer, choosing the number 83 for his race this season. Now, he's pulled out a huge gap in front. Some excellent driving from Chops. 8 seconds so far. That is absolutely massive, so good on him. Whether he'll be able to maintain that gap across the rest of the stint, we will see. Chances are he's on a higher fuel map and really pushing the car to the limit, but any time you can gain on track does make a huge difference in the pit stops. He will have to pit once more this race. We've seen Dean van der Zandt do this before, save his tires and really save his fuel. I don't think it's going to be enough to reach the end, as we're not even at half distance of this race. But that the F-Type Jag has been pretty good at conserving its tires and fuel. And it does definitely bring in the possibility of extending the stint, but it won't be for very long. Now, he may be playing off this second strategy as a low fuel map, or high fuel map, sorry, and low tire degradation stint. So if you take this a little bit longer on your second stint and extend it out to maybe 20 or 24 minutes, you can then take your last stint as an absolute flat-out stint. Oh, as he gets very sideways at the exit of Ascari. Oh, well handled. Excellent car control shown there by Dean. Not going to do his tires any favor, but at least he didn't spin round. Jeff Bruin behind him will want to take advantage, doing well to manage his tires as well for Gridline Racing. He was unfortunately finished 8th place at the Nürburgring last time out, so the 3rd place finish for him would be very, very good. Podium finish. He will have to contend with Matt Joinson, who is behind him on the mediums, still managing his tires well. Now, interestingly, over the course of the last 8 laps that Matt Joinson has been out, he's only got about as much tire wear as these guys on softs over the course of 4 laps. So twice as efficient on the tire wear here, the mediums. We were saying before that 20 minutes is about the maximum. Somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes is about the maximum for the softs. So a 40-minute stint on the mediums is absolutely doable. As we just crossed half race distance here, 30 minutes to go at Monza for the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1. So it could be a very, very interesting little bit of strategy call here from Matt Joinson, opting for these one-stoppers. He's very good at these, as he's proven last time round. Got him up into 1st place for a long period of time, but unfortunately with the tire wear and fuel consumption kind of falling off a little bit towards the end, he'll have to start managing some of that fuel as he's under half. And not quite halfway through the stint. If he is going for a one-stopper, we'll see a little bit later on in the race. Now, for now, let's go down and jump into the bronze category once again. Our leader in the bronze category is Brits Lightning, Troy Britnell for Black Rose Racing in the Mercedes AMG. A really good drive from him. His second stint, choosing the softs, managing his fuel very well. A good drive overall from him so far, pulling out a gap of 4.5 seconds to the next bronze category driver. It doesn't look like he has a chance at the moment to finish above a silver category driver, except for Mad Rick, who we will get to very, very soon. Behind him it is Karma Foster for NED Racing. She's had a great drive so far. A 2nd spot finish here will be a big improvement. She finished 4th last time in the bronze category, so a 2nd place finish will give her a bunch of points. NED Racing will be very proud of her for that. Team owner Joel Austin is currently commentating in Group A, the Elite and Pro class races. Stay on board with Karma Foster as she goes down towards turn 1, reaching 256, 7, 8, 9, nearly 200, oh, just hitting 260 kilometers an hour. That is very, very fast down the straight. Good line into the 1st corner. But still, that Aston Martin not great on turn 1 exit. Luckily, that big V12 engine will make up for it a lot on the straight. Behind her, 2.5 seconds, it is Wade Rushton. Rushfire for Gridline Racing in the BMW M6. Not the drive he was hoping for so far. We'll see how he goes later on this race. He's still close enough to Karma Foster to potentially get a good finish. Could be in challenging later in the race for 2nd or potentially 1st spot, depending on the strategy calls they make for the bronze category. But right now on the podium for the bronze category, and that is a good result for Gridline Racing. Over 9 seconds behind it is Richard Robinson. Now, he had a very, very good result at the Nürburgring, finishing 6th ahead of 3 silver category drivers. So far, not able to replicate that success. Not able to get his BMW performing in the way that he wants. I think he did pick up a little bit of damage to his front splitter before he pitted. So that definitely would have compromised him and his speed and corner entry. Really liking the livery there from Diffusion Race Engineering. The beautiful Kiwi fern on the side of the car, both sides of the car. Of course, this commentator that you are listening to right now is a Kiwi, so I have a little bit of bias. I do hope that they do well, but I hope all the teams do well. And so far, we've seen some very, very clean racing from all the drivers. Doing very well for their teams. They will be proud. We'll see both Dylan Scarborough and Mad Ricky Rick, in the background. Ricky Rick, he is a silver category driver. That means that nearly the entire field for the bronze category is going to be ahead as he gets very squiggly out of that corner. On his second stint already, I believe, so he's pitted once. And that rear right, rear left tire is getting absolutely destroyed by the Mercedes AMG. So Madrick not able to manage his tires quite as well as some of the other AMG drivers up the grid. But he is pushing very, very hard. He's got a long way to catch up. He wants to finish in front of all the bronze category drivers. But at this point, it's a recovery drive for him. Early on, having an incident and going around, getting some damage. It was very unlucky for him, having to serve a little bit of a longer pit stop to get that repaired. Definitely not an ideal here. Not ideal for Strike Race Tech, who are hoping to have a really good finish here today. Having two drivers essentially with 0 points at the end of Nürburgring race last week. Nonetheless, a beautiful livery from Strike Race Tech, sponsored by Strike. Strike Mobile, I believe it is, an Australian mobile brand. Behind him, it's Tim Pears. Good drive from him, managing his tires very well. He's just come out of the pits about 5 laps ago, so this is actually very good tire wear. He's managing those tires incredibly well. Strong drive from him so far, and a 149.7 his fastest lap thus far. Now, Dean van der Zandt, speaking of fastest laps, I'm at 99548 in the F-Type Jaguar, setting a 46.5. That is a qualifying kind of pace. Very, very good speed from him. He's doing his best to catch up with Chops, who's gotten out to a big lead. We will go back on board with him soon. But last but not least, it is Chris White, Whitey from WTC-Racing in the F-Type Jag. His counterpart, I'm at in second place. So the WTCR drivers kind of sandwiching the grid at the moment. We'll see what Dean can do later in this race. And my eyes right now are fixated solidly on Matt Joinson, who's going for the one-stop strategy at the moment. Really want to see if he makes it round the track and doesn't lose out too much track position. Now, Chris White had a very good finish last time, second in the Bronze Championship, but he's had a little bit of a problem this race, not able to stay on pace with the rest of the Bronze Championship drivers. We'll see if he can catch up with Tim Pears. It's about 6.5 seconds between them. Very nice line there through De La Roggia. So he's got all the potential in the world, Chris White. Let's hope he can put it down onto track and get a result for his team. Another really good line there through Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2, using all that inside curb and outside curb. Very good lines there from Chris White. Let's hope he does well in the rest of this race. Now back on top, we have had a little bit of a switch, so apologies for missing that little bit of action. Fastest lap set 4 laps ago by Dean van der Zandt, and look at the tires once again. Big difference, so turning going to be a big issue for Chops, as we see Jeff Bruin behind picking up a penalty for running wide, and quite likely at turn 1 or potentially somewhere on the previous lap towards the penalty zone. That won't do him any favors, but still holding on to 3rd spot, doing very well. The Mercedes, just when it pushes the tires, overheats them, really starts to take the rubber away. It's not ideal for the Mercedes drivers. They are very, very quick, but tire life across a 60-minute race absolutely matters. 0.67 difference on the last lap for him. Let's see what kind of top speed the Mercedes is able to get to on the back straight and down the pit straight. Just looking back a little bit through the rear mirror of the Mercedes AMG car, and we can see in the distance Jeff Bruin, who's just served his penalty. Fortunately for Jeff, that will not affect his 3rd place position at the moment. Now, very interesting to see what kind of top speed we can get out of Mercedes. He'll need to get at least one, maybe two more laps on these softs before he can make another pit stop for his second stint. And that's going to bring PLE Black Friday, Matt Joinson, on the one stop into contention of this race. We'll see if it works out for him. I'm really not sure at this stage. You're only losing between 25 and 30 seconds in the pit stop, so that could be enough. Unfortunately, I did miss the top speed there. Oh, wow. Dean van der Zandt, don't know what happened there, but he nearly ran very wide off the track at Curva Grande. Very difficult to run wide there. Setting a fastest sector 1 time again. Getting to low fuel in that right rear. The right rear is taking an absolute beating here. Lots of left-hand turns. In fact, most of these are, in fact, left-hand turns. The harder turns in this track are left-handers. Lesmo 1 and 2 being very fast corners. And in a weird coincidence, starting with the letter L, left-hand corners at Lesmo 1 and 2. Actually, that's completely incorrect. My apologies. They're both right-handers. And, of course, the tire we're talking about is the rear left. Your commentator, folks, getting his lefts and rights mixed up. Commentating curse backfiring in the commentator box. I will make sure I get that right going forward. But the right-handers, most of these corners here, right-handers, which is putting a lot of pressure on the left tires of these cars. But that Mercedes falling off the back of Dean van der Zandt. Chops our privateer, not able to hold on, but he's going to stay out for an extra lap, as we do have Dean van der Zandt into the pits. So he's going to try and make another 20 minutes work. He's splitting it 3 ways, 60 minutes divided by 3, 20 minutes a stint, hoping that he's able to make up and keep that pace that he's showing so far. Aiden Sampson also deciding to pit. Monica deciding to pit. That puts Matt Kutch up in a provisional P3. He will need to pit again, but looks like he's managed his tire life really, really well, extending his stint as much as possible. Looking at 12 laps on the first 2 stints. That's a very, very good management of his tires and fuel. Let's see if he can pull this one off. He'll go into the pits probably at the end of the next lap. We will see as iMac comes out of the pits on a fresh set of softs, full fuel in the tank. We're followed now closely by Black Rose Racing, our current bronze category leader, Troy Britnell. Also doing the same strategy as Matt Kutch. So the Black Rose Racing drivers kind of copying each other in strategy. No real surprise there. Holding out for that 12-lap stint, and that will give them a chance to have a faster, more heavy push lap, or stint, sorry, in their final stint of the race. Now, just jumping down the field, very, very interesting. We have had a pit stop from PLE Black Friday, Matt Joinson. I'm really not quite sure what the idea was with this strategy, going for 2 sets of mediums. Very interesting. So maybe worried about the tire wear on the 911 Porsche. It feels like he can push harder on the mediums, maybe feels a bit more comfortable on that. Obviously, at this point, with only 18 minutes remaining in this race, he can use as much fuel as he likes and as much tire as he likes, so he will be fast at the end of the race, but I think he might have made a little bit of a strategy boo-boo there. I was hoping to see him try the one stop, but obviously it wasn't viable. Potentially a mistake from his pit crew putting the mediums on again. We will see at the end of the race. On board with Monica, also just pitted as well, so we've just gone past another car. It's Hellblazer serving a penalty down the back straight. Not quite sure where he picked that up. Aiden Sampson will not be happy with that. He's just come out through his outlap on a racing soft, so it's going to put him significantly down. That might have been a solid 2 seconds he's lost there, as the field does get a little bit mixed up as these secondary pit stops do happen. And Dylan, he's staying out. Look at that rear left. He's staying out at a very high chance of having a popped tire. Oh, a very brave choice from Dylan Scarborough. See how he goes. Off in the distance, we can see his teammate, PLE Black Friday. Will he be able to make this 2-stop strategy work with 2 medium stints? Might give some bronze category drivers an opportunity to get in front of another silver category driver. We will see Brits Lightning still provisionally leading the bronze category. But at the moment, Karma Foster, who does need to pit, is currently in the lead of the bronze category. That is an on-track position only, a provisional first place. P1, both the NED's Racing Aston Martins coming through the Lesmo corners. Down the first back straight towards the Scari. Coming up to 3/4 race distance now, everyone. See Monica go through a Scari. Good entry line there, maybe running a little bit more curve than you might want. Very good line, excellent drive from her. Keeping it very consistent and very clean on the exit. That'll give her a good run down the second back straight towards Parabolica. But doing some similar but faster nonetheless lap times than her teammate, Karma Foster, who's having a great stint so far. She'll be coming in, I suspect, holding the right-hand line, and yes, that is a pit stop for Karma Foster. Matt Cooke in the pit stop now. He'll be looking to switch on to another fresh pair of soft tires. No one other than Matt Joinson opting for a medium stint. I think that's very indicative of the optimal strategy here, and that is a 2-stop with the racing soft tires. Jeff Bruin extremely happy at the moment, I'm sure, if he maintains his position. It is a podium finish for him in 3rd place at the moment. I can see up above we do have some action on track. Let's go to the cinematic camera and watch these two as they go nearly side by side through Della Roggia. A little bit of gravel being picked up by Dean van der Zandt. He does like that gravel trap. A little bit of a favorite as they go through Lesmo 2. Only 0.5 between them. Racing softs both, but they're a little bit fresher softs for Chops 983. Opting to pit a little bit later, he'll be able to run maybe a little bit deeper into this stint and run a bit harder on those tires, a little bit harder on the fuel. That's the only way that he's going to be able to manage at the end, as the Mercedes will chew through the tires a little bit more than the F-Type Jag. But Dean van der Zandt showing his speed up here again for another fight for the win. Was able to make a very calculated move last time out. In the last couple of laps of the race, I suspect we'll be seeing the same thing here. If he manages his tire well, uses the slipstream a little bit to keep the tires cool and the brakes cool, then he might be able to throw a fast one onto Chops in the last couple of laps. We'll see how these two go. Not using the slipstream there, that is exactly how you're meant to do it according to the driver rules that have been put in place. That's to ensure some clean, good, fair racing. Oh, nearly a bit of contact, getting right up onto the bumper of Chops. He's got a good exit as well through turn 1. That gives him the outside line. Technically the inside line into Grande, but that will give him the outside line and the lead, potentially in through Della Roggia. They go down this straight, and so far he's consolidated the first place, but the inside line will go to Chops. No, Chops decides to back out. Oh, it's an excellent sector 1 there from Dean van der Zandt, putting the power down in a great exit out of turn 1. That's really put him in good stance. He might set another fastest lap this time round. So getting into the lead a little bit earlier in this stint. We are at 3/4 race distance, so only 14 minutes left to go in this race. On board with Gridline Racing's Jeff Bruin, we're going to go down the field, and looks like Monica, Super VT 2000 for NED Racing, has had an incredibly good little stroke of luck here through nothing less than excellent driving and good pit stopping. And she'll be going to the end on these racing softs, bagging herself a 4th place finish. That's excellent for her, finishing 7th position out last time at the Nürburgring. This will bag NED Racing and herself some excellent points in the championship standings. Aiden Sampson behind, missing out a little bit. He's managing to hold on to 5th place, and there is a big gap behind him to Matt Cooke, who will be flying in this last stint in that Mercedes AMG. So both of these drivers actually at risk, surprisingly, from Matt Cooke. Well, I might have spoken a little bit too soon because a penalty being served by Matt Cooke. That's not going to do him any favors. Not going to lose too much time from a 0.5-second penalty, but you will lose time. Puts him another second behind those two. So the chance of him getting a 4th place finish slipping away was looking likely, doing a 12-lap, 10-lap stint. And there we do have in 7th place at the moment in the silver category. It is Matthew Joinson now. Unfortunately for him, he's gone from 2nd and 3rd place down to 7th. And medium strategy not working out at all. I think it was a bad call from him, sadly. We'll see if he can make some magic happen, but not gaining much time on the races ahead who are on softs. He's going to have to push this car like crazy to make up any time on them. As we go on board now with Troy Britnell, leader by some margin in the bronze category. That will be very, very favorable for him. Let's see what he's able to do. Second place at the moment in the bronze category, it is Wade Rushton, the Gridline Racing, followed closely by Karma Foster, who's going to get herself a third position here in the bronze category, doing very, very well. Now Matthew Johnson was able to get up ahead of all the bronze category drivers, so no extra points for these bronze category drivers for finishing ahead of him. And we'll go and have a little talk about Mad Rick shortly. Still not able to get up ahead of the bronze category drivers. But a third place here, a very, very good result for Karma Foster. She finished 4th last time out. This will bag her 12 points in the driver standings and 12 points for her team overall. Potentially a few more than that, depending on where some other silver category drivers finish in this race. But the lines between the bronze and silver categories here today are very much quite well laid out. Monza proving to be a bit of a melting pot. Separating out not necessarily the impurities, but definitely getting a bit of separation between the two classes of drivers. Very technical, very tricky track to get right. It's a very good drive so far from everyone. No incidents noted so far between any of the drivers. They might have had some contact earlier on, but nothing malicious, nothing intentional, that's for sure. On board with Dylan Scarborough, this is a much better result for him. 4th at the moment, finished 5th last time round in the bronze category. Now bag him a few nice points. 10 minutes remaining in this race, so 5 laps to go. And here we do have on the racing softs, it is Mad Rick, Ricky Rick of Strike Race Tech. Unfortunately not got the speed to reel back in the bronze category drivers. He's had a few issues with the Mercedes last time out. I wonder if there's another ECU problem with their car. We'll see what happens. Now, one thing to note is that he's not running any assists. He's very confident in his ability to drive around this course with the Mercedes. And I also believe in that ability, just unfortunately having an incident earlier on in the race, which has put him right at the back of the grid for a recovery drive. Not ideal for him once again after last time, where he wasn't able to get any points. His teammate Tim Pears holding onto the back of him. 3 seconds the gap between the two Strike Race Tech drivers. Going through Lesmo 1. Nice line there from Tim Pears. He's had an excellent drive today. He's going to bag himself currently a 5th place finish. 4th place finish in the bronze category. So that'll be an extra nice bit of points for Strike Race Tech. If he can finish ahead of his teammate, he will bag a bit more points. And maybe some team orders going to come in there. We will see. Behind them it is Richard Robinson. Not his ideal race today. He's had another recovery drive. He's had a recovery drive today. Last time out, he had an incredible finish, leading into the final lap for the bronze category at Nürburgring. But managing his tyres well, he's got the chance potentially to get up ahead of Tim Pears, but so far not seeing a massive improvement in his lap times and having a couple of mistakes in previous laps. Very consistent overall, setting 48s throughout this race. It's a very consistent drive from Richard Robinson. I hope to see him find some extra pace in his last few laps of the race. And it is the officially WTC sandwich of the grid. Last place and first place. Currently in last place it is Chris White for World Touring Car Championship Racing. He's had I would say a mixed drive this time round. Not the ideal line through turn 1. As he does get back on the throttle. Reasonable exit. He'll go through Curva Grande. It's about a minute and a half off Dean van der Zandt, our race leader and silver category leader. 8 seconds behind Richard Robinson, so I don't think this is going to change much in terms of the order. But Chris Wright will continue to push. He's confident in his own abilities. He had a fantastic finish last time out at the Nürburgring. So he knows that he can keep up with the bronze category leaders. He'll have to consolidate the 15th spot this time round. Back up the grid, it is Dean van der Zandt, and looking at the tyres, they're a bit more equal this time round, with Chops able to keep and maintain his tyres a little bit longer. This is going to be the race to the end. 6 minutes remaining, folks. So we'll be looking at 3, maybe 4 more laps in this round 2 at Monza. A sunny afternoon going into evening. See the sun slowly getting a little bit lower on the horizon. Track might be cooling down a little bit, and the wind direction has changed ever so slightly. Still a tailwind down into turn 1. That might be what's causing some of the drivers to get a little bit squiggly on entry. Yeah, a little bit of a downhill as well into turn 1. Not as much as Nürburgring though. Jeff Bruin solidly in no man's land between Chops and Monica behind him. Nonetheless, he'll be very happy sitting in 3rd place for the silver category. That's a podium finish, folks, in the overall race, and 3rd place finish for the silver championship. That's a significant improvement over the result that he had last time at Nürburgring, where he was involved in a couple of incidents that really ruined his chances of a good finish. He had a great start and a good qualifying, both in round 1 and this round as well. Oh, and some action here between Matt Cooke and Monica. Through Parabolica they go. Monica getting a very good run there through Parabolica. She's able to hold off Matt Cooke, who went down around the outside. Gave enough room for Monica to slip back up the inside after the second long straight at the back. That V12 not doing much against AMG's V8. Oh, and she'll have to back out into turn 1, hoping that Matt Cooke's slightly wider line will compromise them on exit, which it does not. Very well held there by Matt Cooke. So Monica losing out 4th place there, unfortunately. That's going to drop her down 1 position so far. And I did say before that both Super VT 2000 Monica and Aiden behind them would have to watch out for Matt Cooke. He's going to be very fast. He pitted a little bit later than them, so he's got fresher, soft tyres. Also opting for the 2-stint soft strategy. And there we go. That is the difference between wearing soft tyres and fresh ones. You see a reasonably big difference, especially on that rear left. She might be able to hold on to a 5th place finish. That'll still be a good improvement for her this time round. And interestingly, we actually have Matthew Joinson now. The medium crossover between the mediums and the softs starting to happen. You can see the mediums lasting a lot longer, maintaining a lot more grip as he goes for a look up at Scari. Can he make something happen? No, pulls out, opting to take a little look instead, maybe down towards Parabolica. Scarborough Motorsport 2nd in the team standing so far. So they'll be wanting to have as high a finish here for Black Friday as possible. Dylan, though, going to bag a bunch of points in the bronze category. He does have a little look. Oh, but getting on the grass. Taking a too tighter line. Aiden Sampson closing the door on Matt Joinson. So he has done very well to maintain that position, Aiden, but he's going to get another challenge here, potentially down into turn 1. Let's see what happens. No, decides better of it. He wasn't quite close enough to make a move. It looks like Super VT is on the back of Matt Cooke once again, just ahead of them. So these top, the 4 positions from 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, rounding out 7 of our 8 Silver Championship drivers, very, very close now. Can Monica make something happen in these last few laps? We are at 58 minutes. That means potentially only this lap and 1 more remaining in this race. Keep your eyes fixated on the action, folks. We are going to see some amazing stuff happen at the end. We see Matt Joinson running a little bit wide in Lesmo 1. This Aston V12 starting to make it up in terms of the tyre wear, I suspect, and good driving there from Monica to stay on the back of Matt Cooke. Now, while he does have fresher tires, Monica is making those slightly worn softs work really, really well late into this race with the Aston Martin V12 for NED Racing. Very, very good driving from her. Aiden Sampson still ahead of PLE Black Friday. Oh, but goes a little bit wide out of Ascari, and a great line from Matt Jointson through Ascari. That's going to give him a big, big run. Looking for the inside of Parabolica, going to the outside. Can he make it round the outside of Parabolica? Let's see. Oh, a little bit of contact from them. Aiden Sampson running a little bit wide into the corner, not giving as much space as he could have. Though that is the nature of Parabolica, especially with the degrading tires. Compared to the mediums, much, much significantly more degraded tires for Aiden Sampson. Going side by side down to turn one. Who's going to brake later? Oh, it is PLE Black Friday. He might have a bit of a compromised line. Let's see how he does. No, excellent overtake there from Matt Jointson on Hellblazer. The mediums are solidly now back up into the pace area. Very impressive lap times being set by Matt. 47s consistently. That's very impressive on the mediums, all things considered. Very low on fuel now, so the car's getting lighter and lighter. Will he have a chance to catch up with Monica ahead of him? Her tires are starting to go off quite significantly. She might start losing some position, some time to Matt Cooke, whose tires are in much, much better shape. As we do cross the 60-minute mark, we are now at the final lap of this race, going on board with our leaders. And it's very, very close, only 0.3 of a second between these two. Dean van der Zandt and Chops. Can Chops make something happen in the last corner? Oh, no, it doesn't look like he can, but he will have a little bit of slipstream, but the pit line and the checkered flag will be out. He's very close, only 0.1 in it. Can he make something happen as they go down across the line? And it is Matt. Dean van der Zandt takes the race win, followed by Chops in second place. A very good drive from those two, very close at the end. Congratulations to them both. In third place for the Silver Championship, and overall it is Jeff Bruin. Congratulations to him. Coming through Parabolica, it is Matt Cooke. Monica wasn't able to do anything on the last lap, sadly, so Matt will take fourth position for Black Rose Racing today. Congratulations to him. A great drive, though, from Monica. Super VT 2000. Excellent work. Unfortunately, not a great result there for Matt Jointson. His strategy call didn't really work out in the end. Now, second to last silver category driver is Aiden Sampson. A good drive from him, and across the line goes Brits Lightning Troy Britnell. Congratulations to him. First place in the bronze category to Troy Britnell. An excellent race from him. Followed by the Rushfire Wade Rushton of GLR. He's done well to secure second spot in the bronze category. And congratulations to Karma Foster, who looks like she's taking some significant damage on the rear right, somewhere in the last part of the lap. And might have been some contact. But nonetheless, a third place position, podium for her for the bronze championship. Very, very good race. NED Racing will be very happy with her. Tim Pears making an appearance in fourth place for the bronze category. Congratulations to him. We'll continue to go down the grid very, very soon. So Tim Pears, roadie in the Mercedes AMG for Strike Racetech. A great finish for him. He needed that for the team. That'll bag him a bunch of points. In fifth place for the bronze category, it is Marty. That's Dylan Scarborough in the 911 for Scarborough Motorsport. Excellent race for him. Similar result to what he got at Nürburgring, but he'll be happy with that, I'm sure. Richard Robertson, a significant downgrade in the race finish here at Monza, sadly for him. So he'll be rounding out the sixth place spot for the bronze category. Flighty Whitey, Chris White, for the WTCR, able to get ahead of Mad Rick at the end. So not quite the WTCR sandwich that we thought we would get, but a tasty sandwich nonetheless. Good finish from him. And last but not least, it is a silver category championship driver, Mad Rick, Ricky Rick, just not able to find the recovery that he needed in the Mercedes AMG. And that is a very unfortunate finish for him, but for the rest of the bronze championship, all those drivers in the bronze league finishing ahead of him, so they will all get extra points for that. And that, everyone, will round out our race here today, round 2 for the MotorMotion E-Series, Player 1 Sim Gear Championship, GT3 Championship, at Monza It's been a fantastic afternoon bringing you this commentary. My name is Crazy Good Kung Fu, also known as George. And I hope you've all had a fantastic time at the stream today over in Italy. It's been a fantastic race. Lots of close racing, some interesting strategy calls. Lots for the drivers and the teams to think about for next week. Speaking of next week, we will talk briefly about where we are on the next Tuesday evening. We will be going to the one, the only Spa-Francorchamps. And there will be some interesting switch up in strategy. That will be another 60-minute endurance race. So looking forward very much to the cars going to Spa. Some very, very tricky things to account for at Spa. So the drivers will all be going away, doing a debrief on exactly what's happened this time out at Monza. There may be some penalties applied post-race. We'll see how the Group A lobby did as well in the Elite and Pro categories. And we'll have an update for you next week on the driver and team standings in the GT3 Championship. But generally, overall, a great race from all the teams and drivers. Congratulations to them all. A special congratulations, of course, to the winners of the two categories. Dean van der Zandt for WTC-Racing, able to secure this for the first place spot once again for WTCR. And, of course, Troy Britnell, his first time on this top spot for the bronze category. A fantastic drive from him in the Mercedes AMG for Black Rose Racing, putting in some excellent times. And really, really good race from him overall. So congratulations to our two Group B category winners. Congratulations to all the top three in each of those divisions as well. And we will be rounding out the live coverage of this event at Monza. We will have a quick final word from our sponsor as we go out of the race. But from here in the commentary box at Monza, it's been a privilege bringing you the live coverage today. And we will be seeing you next week for round 3 of the MotorMotion E-Series Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship for another absolute banger of a race. Until next time, folks, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.